Hey there again guys, welcome back to my channel on Diablo 3. This is Mike Kim, and as I've been playing the Witch Doctor quite a bit in the latest patch 13 beta, they've made quite a lot of changes really. So right now this build is specifically for PvP. Now I know that a lot of things are yet to be finalized, and they are not definitely going to be the way they are as it is now. As you can see, I've mentioned in my previous videos, this skill calculator isn't updated yet. It says everything is for rank 4 runestones and based on a level 60 character, but even then it doesn't hurt to anticipate that certain abilities are just going to work. And anyway, as you all know, in PvP especially, there are certain things that you really need to take care of. For example, in this one which I created was meant to slow down enemies. As it is, witch doctors are actually quite hard to kill. They've got a whole bunch of crowd control abilities, and one of their primary ones is that they can slow, they can fear, and they can actually turn you into a chicken. So this is very good. I've picked up these three. Poison Dart, the most basic ability, you get this at level 1. I've used the Obsidian Runestone, but in the current iteration of Diablo 3's patch 13 beta, they do not call it the Obsidian Runestone anymore. They just call it Numbing Dart Rune Skill. Okay, what it does is targets hit by the dart have their movement slowed by 60% for 4.5 seconds. Now this might or might not be the same when the game goes live, but either way, if this is the skill and what it does, if it slows down enemies, you know that this is going to be a spammable skill, especially when you're in PvP. And if it can slow down enemies to prevent them from movement, it allows you to put yourself in a better position to either kill them or get away, survive from them. And here we have Horrify, which is on a 20-second cooldown. It's a very low mana cost. What this does is it fears your target. It horrifies all enemies within 12 yards, which is melee range pretty much, causing them to run in fear for 5 seconds. This is very good because every 20 seconds you can make them run away from you for 5 seconds. This is pretty much a oh shit button, and at the same time it's almost spammable 3 times per minute. This is very good. Gain 35% movement speed for 4 seconds of the cast. This is your survival ability, especially against melee classes like the Barbarian and the Monk. I picked up Plague of Toads, but I swapped it up with this. Summon a giant toad that swallows enemies whole for up to 5 seconds, digesting them for 39% of your weapon damage per second as physical. But it gives your Plague of Toads a 5-second cooldown. Usually, the skill on its own does not have a cooldown, but once you use this rune skill, apparently it gives it a 5-second cooldown. So you can slow people as they are coming toward you or running away from you. You can make sure enemies are feared if they get too close to you, and if they somehow break that fear or they manage to use a gap closer to get back on your ass and deal damage again, you'll be able to cast this, which is a Toad of Hugeness. I'm not sure who names these things, but whatever it is, as long as it's effective, it'll work. And at the same time, you have Hex. You get this at a pretty low level. I am level 10 right now in the beta since they did a character wipe, and this cooldown is really short and it lasts for 8 seconds. I'm not even sure if enemies can attack this Hex Voodoo Fetish Shaman thing, but anyway, for a 10-second cooldown that lasts for 8 seconds, it basically hexes enemies, and I do not know how often, but I've seen it being done in the PvP during their their BlizzCon in October, and it looked pretty damn cool. It pretty much made sure that enemies couldn't kill you. And these 4, if you'll notice, are all crowd control utility abilities. Oh, another thing, the Hex, it heals you. Yes, for 8 seconds out of 10 seconds, it'll continuously heal you and your allies. This is one reason why this ability is good. I'm probably going to be keeping it up all the time. Even when I'm not under attack, I'll probably have it up because I will probably have teammates to heal at the same time. Now for offensive abilities, I picked up Sacrifice and Zombie Dogs. What this does is, in my previous video, I also mentioned that you can sacrifice your Zombie Dogs to explode for 200% of your weapon damage. You can have 3 dogs up at the same time. That is a significant amount of damage right there. That's 600%, assuming all Zombie Dogs are on the same target. You don't have to summon them right away. They have a 1-minute cooldown, but it might be prudent to wait for a target to come to you. You summon your dogs, cast Sacrifice immediately, gain the life from being sacrificed. This really turns the tide, because if let's say, okay, you have 20,000 HP and a barbarian leaps onto you, and you just deal the normal amount of damage you can with Poison Dart, Horrify, Plague of Toads. These all deal a bit of damage, and Hex, you deal normal damage, and you're about to die. Let's say you're at 25% HP and the barbarian is at 50% HP. Blow up your Zombie Dogs, or summon them and blow them up. You will literally kill the barbarian from 50% HP because you're dealing 600% of your weapon damage. Heal yourself for life based on each dog that gets killed, and with the Zombie Dogs there, if you cannot live long enough, they will have lifelink, which absorbs some of the damage you take. Alright, now these are your 2 offensive abilities. Like I mentioned in my previous skill build for the Witch Doctor, I went for a group PvE skill build, which would actually support my party instead of being the solo killer or solo hunter alone, that sort of thing. You'll see that most of these abilities actually rely on my teammates to deal as much damage as possible, as they are trying to focus me down, because I have a Hex that's healing them at the same time. So this is what's going to be happening. And for passive skills, I picked this up, Jungle Fortitude. I think this is really powerful, reduces all the damage you take and your pets take by 20%. All damage. This doesn't matter whether it's fire, whether it's physical, whether it's any kind of holy damage. It says damage, and this is the same as it says in game. This is a significant amount. Alright, and Pierce of the Veil, all of your damage is increased by 20% and your mana costs are increased by 30%. Now this may seem significant, but you'll notice that a lot of my skills are really cheap to cast. The most expensive would probably be Hex or summoning the Zombie Dogs. Hex is 295 here. Oh, Plague of Toads, yeah, 355 mana here. This is the most expensive, and at max level you have about, it says here that it's based on a level 60 character, and from the changes that they put in for the patch 13 beta, the Witch Doctor has about 20 to 30,000 mana, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, 2 to 3,000 mana at max level on a base amount. This is not including gear at all. At my level right now, at level 10, I have about 300 plus, give or take, amount of mana. So you'll see that this is not very expensive, so I decided to go for Pierce the Veil. All of your damage is increased by 20% and your mana costs are increased by 30%. Of course, you do not have to pick it up, but I feel that burst is very important, especially in a PvP setting. There are quite a few passive skills to choose from. There's one here for Plague of Toads. I mean, I could buff my Plague of Toads instead using Vermin. I could use Blood Ritual, but it costs me life instead of mana. 15% of the mana cost will go to life instead, but it would give me a 2% HP regeneration per second, which is quite significant in a PvP setting, if the PvP lasts for longer than a few seconds, let's say. Alright, so who knows, but anyway. And then here you see I have 4 Zombie Dogs out at once. The health of your Zombie Dogs and Gargantuan is increased by 60%. I didn't pick up Gargantuan, but on the other hand, 4 Zombie Dogs over here. You'll see summon 3 Zombie Dogs. Instead, it'll be summoning 4 Zombie Dogs if I can cast them twice at the same time. One after another, I mean. And you'll see that over here, I have sacrificed 200% of your weapon damage as physical to all enemies. And it says all of your Zombie Dogs each dealing. You see here, if you're reading the tooltip, it says all of your Zombie Dogs explode, each dealing 200% of your weapon damage. if you have 4 zombie dogs out, that's 800% of your weapon damage. And like I mentioned in my first video on the Witch Doctor's itemization, right now, I'm not sure if this is finalized, but right now, I was carrying a two-handed axe around and casting spells. I mean, it may not be optimal, but at this point, when these are the items that are available to you from the blacksmith, I crafted most of my items, weapons and armor, because they were just better, because the last boss in the beta was level 9, so the items that you get were limited to level 9. So that's pretty much what I did to get my items up to level 13. So yeah, from here, 200% weapon damage. I remember I mentioned that I had a two-handed axe. The weapon damage was 17 to 20, so 200% weapon damage. If the RNG, the random number generator, got 20 and picked up 20, and then times 200%, it'll be 40 damage times 4. That's 160 HP. That is half my life in total, pretty much, at that level. So it's quite significant. And this is it for PvP. Survival from the first 4 abilities, utility as well, 2 burst damage abilities, my passive skills which ensure that I stay alive by reducing all the damage I take by 20%, increasing a bit of my damage by 20% for these 2, as well as having 4 zombie dogs and the health of my zombie dogs increased by 60%. Now, like I said, everything is up for experimentation, but this is probably the first one that I'll be going through, and I'll be tweaking it a little bit, because nothing is final, especially when it comes to this build. Everything has to be tested. Of course, I'm not just going to run over to level 60 and PvP only then. So at some point there will be certain rune skills that I do not have access to, so I'll be going back and forth between those skills which are more useful at that level while I PvP. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Good night.